Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're solving minimum deletions to make string balanced. So in this problem, we will be given a string consisting of only characters A and B, and a string is considered balanced if there is no instances where a letter A comes after B, and we can delete any number of characters to make it balanced, and we want to return the minimum number of deletions that is needed to make it balanced. So if you look at this example, the output is 2 because we can do it in 2 removals. We can either remove the B and A here, or we can remove A here and A here. In this example, it's also 2 because we can remove B right here, so we don't have to remove any of these A's. So we return 2 as our result. So now that we have seen some examples, let's get to how we can solve this problem. So to solve this problem, we should ask ourselves that if we come across an A after B, what are our options? We can either remove the A that we saw, or we can keep the A and remove however many B's that we need to remove from before. So to solve this, we can actually use dynamic programming, and it's dynamic programming because at each iteration we are on, we are relying on the minimum number of deletions from before. So what we can do is we can initialize result to 0, and result will obviously represent the minimum number of deletions, and initialize B count to 0. This will represent the number of B's that we have seen. And now we'll iterate through the array. If the character that we come across is B, just increase the B count by 1. If we come across A, then we will update the result. So either we will just remove the A that we saw, which would be result plus 1, or we can just remove all the B's altogether. That would be the B count, because if you think about it, let's say if an A comes after a B, what we can always do is just remove all the B's that we have seen, and that will be counted as a number of deletions. But if it costs less to just add 1, meaning just to remove the A, then we will set this as our result in the iteration. And in the end, we will return the result. So let's go through this example real quick. So first, B count result is 0. We start at A. B count is 0. We'll set that to result. B count is 0. Set this to result. Come across a B, increment B count by 1. Now we come to A, and we can either remove the B, meaning we take B count, or we can look at the previous result, which is 0, and remove the A, so add 1 to it. Either way, it's both 1, so we can do either, but we just have to set 1 to result. Increment B count, increment B count. Now we come to A. We could either just remove all the B's, which would be we take B count and set that to result, or we can just remove the A, so meaning we add 1 to the previous result, which is 2. So now result is 2, and increment B count. And now that we have come to the end, we can return 2 as our result. So the time complexity would be O of n, where n is the number of elements in the array, because that's the number of elements we have to iterate through. And the space complexity would be O of 1, because the size of these variables will not depend on the size of the array. So now let's get to the coding part. So first we'll initialize result to 0 and B count to 0. And now we'll iterate through the string S for C and S, C for character. If the character is B, we increment the B count by 1. Otherwise, it must be A, so else we will set result to the minimum of result plus 1, meaning we remove the A that we saw, or we can remove all B's, so or B count, and then finally we'll return result, see if it works. Okay, perfect. Hope this was helpful. Thank you all for watching. If you have any other questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and I hope to see you all again soon.